Howdy, y'all, and welcome to today's Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review, the premier source for all things Kansas City Royals related. I am Jake Milham, joined, as always this evening, by the illustrious Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, we are the sad face emoji as we record Sunday evening, just moments after the Royals drop the series against the Chicago Cubs. How we feeling, man?
I mean, not good, obviously.
What?
Those were they're not just two losses, they're two brutal losses. Two winnable games against a team that hasn't been good, team that had no offense after the All-Star break heading into the series, and then found it late in the innings, late in both games. Silver lining, I guess, maybe you were going to bring this up. Silver lining is that worst case scenario right now is that the Red Sox have not played today. If they win tonight, then the Royals will be tied with them for the final wild card spot, which honestly, they were 2 games back when we exited the All-Star break. They have made up ground over the last 9 days, and they've gone as they went 5-4. We should have seen them go 6-3, 7-2, maybe even 8-1 over that span. But the sky has not fallen yet, I guess, even though it really feels like it.
Yeah, this was a pretty disheartening series. Before we get too deep into it, I'm right there with y'all. If you need to vent some frustrations, a good place to do that is down in the Royals Review comment section. You can go hop into the game recap, let your thoughts be known, or if you want to follow along with each game in the game thread, that's a good place to react to the game real time. But yeah, Jeremy, so for anyone who didn't watch today's game, Royals drop the rubber match 7-3 against the visiting Chicago Cubs. They're now 3-11 in series deciding games this season. That is terrible. That's the most losses that they have in that, split since 2019. Okay, like that's not even like worse than 2023, 2022. I get it. They weren't in a whole lot of series deciding games because they sucked overall, but still, it doesn't offer much confidence for myself personally when you look towards, okay, this is the team marching towards the postseason. Can we trust them in a 3-game series? Well, apparently not, as we saw against the Diamondbacks and the Cubbies. Jeremy, this was just an offensive drought for the Royals, I think is the way to put it. I get it. They scored 3 runs, but that third run felt kind of lucky from, it was the Freddie Fermin fan interference home run. And then after that, if my count is correct, the Cubs retired, I think, 17 of the last 18 Royals batters.
Yeah, something like that. That was the last hit the Royals got until it was the 8th or the 9th inning.
Yeah, it was bad, man.
Inning, yeah.
And I've done it before. I've gone back and I've looked at, here's the run differential for this whole stretch and yada, yada, yada. Just these last 2 games were really disheartening. Like, just sucked.
And the run differential in this series is the Cubs won 2 out of 3. Yeah. Run differential agrees.
Yep, exactly. So there's not a whole lot of positives. A couple of more negatives. Make all the jokes you want about John Schreiber and Hunter Harvey not being impact guys in the bullpen, but the fact is that both of them left today's game with their own separate injuries. John Schreiber exited after 1 batter with, quote, right knee patella tendon discomfort, which does not sound fun. And then Hunter Harvey exited with left lower back spasms. So 2 very concerning injuries as the Royals approach the trade deadline, where they were hoping to bolster the bullpen. Now, if those 2 have to hit the IL at all, they're just trying to tread water, it seems. So
the alternative there is Walter Pennington and Will Klein are already on the 40-man roster.
Yeah,
I would rather see both of them in the major leagues than in Omaha. So
absolutely.
If those guys both got to go to the IL, the bullpen might get stronger. Hunter Harvey was a good trade, I think. Good process, at least. It has not worked so far.
Yeah,
it was a good process. So, Schreiber has been very up and down. It's the other thing that I also wanted to throw out there about the Harvey trade is we've watched all these trades rolling in over the last couple of days is that people were like, oh, you overpaid for Hunter Harvey. What if you'd had Caden Wallace to trade for Randy Arozarena? And the answer is, well, all the other relievers are going for a lot more. And Caden Wallace was not going to get you Randy Arozarena. So honestly, it kind of looks like the Royals got a good bargain with Harvey. And I'm going to throw this out there. And this is not what we're talking about right now, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway because it's on my mind. The Royals got kind of the first trade of the deadline season, and they got a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
So now they're waiting for. Everyone's like, oh, they missed out on a Rosarena. Oh, they missed out on Jazz Chisholm Jr. Well, guess what? Those guys brought back a lot in prospect capital. But now the teams that bought them aren't buyers anymore. Everyone says, oh, it's a seller's market. Well, it's a seller's market right this second. If all the buyers are done buying, except for the Royals, it stops being a seller's market. And it starts being a buyer's market. And if the Royals have timed this well, they can add some impact pieces, because this is the argument I've also made, is that they don't need to bring in a star. They just need to replace a couple of their below replacement level guys with average major leaguers. And that's still a real possibility. And we'll talk about that more in a minute, but I just wanted to throw that out there. And we could go back and talk about how awful these last two games were, because they were bad. I wrote, and the that I don't think we've even addressed is that I wrote in the recap yesterday about how sloppy the team was. They were sloppy in their base running. They were sloppy in their fielding. They were sloppy in their decision making, with Seth Lugo going back out for the seventh and having no backup in the form of a relief pitcher ready to go. And then the decision to bring in Sam Long, who is not, I've argued in the past that if a lefty can get guys out, it doesn't matter that he's lefty, but Sam Long is not the lefty that just gets everybody out. So you bring him in, and that gives you Patrick Wisdom instead of Pete Crow Armstrong, and he hits the grand slam. So that was bad decision making as well as bad play, and then just more bad play today.
Yeah, some of the sloppy stuff that people are going to be talking about, and rightfully so. The Pete Crow Armstrong rundown, I get it. Rundown is kind of it's a basic thing in baseball, or at least on the major league level is considered a basic part of baseball. Just some poor communication. John Schreiber didn't. I personally blame that on John Schreiber, not creating more space between himself and first base, just kind of being a statue right there. And Pete Crow Armstrong has elite speed. Okay, he's a headline guy for a reason, and so he made quick work of it. And he didn't get out, but it didn't cause any damage, if I recall correctly.
Right, yeah, he got the next batter out.
Yeah, but still, it was a sloppy thing. And then also, like, the second time this homestand that we saw Isbell just like spike the ball or just have a really errant throw.
I don't know what happened the first time. This time it was probably because there was a little rain, little sun showers, and so the ball slipped out of his hand. But yeah, it is weird that it's happened twice now.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna call for Kyle Isbell's job simply because of that, because it's like but it's just odd that it happened twice in a short span of games. Yeah, just this didn't seem like the Royals brand of baseball that we've seen this year.
This is
like in all facets of the game. It just seemed really off today.
I think what a lot of people are missing about this team is that they're a good team.
They are.
They're over 500. In almost August. It's not quite August, but they'll be over 500 in August, even if they lose every game. They're above 500 heading into August. They're a good team.
Yep.
They are not a great team. They are a good team, which means their margin for error, because they aren't a great team, is not big. And when they play sloppy, like they did in June, when they play sloppy, like they did the last 2 days, they're going to lose games.
Yeah.
Because these are also major league baseball teams, except for the Chicago White Sox,
of course. That is a triple A team.
So when we say they're good, and you're like, but they lost. Good teams lose.
They do.
But if the Royals want to win more than they lose, they're gonna have to knock it off with the sloppy play.
Yep.
And I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if guys are tired. I don't know if guys are hurting. I don't know if guys are pressing. Just know that that's the problem right now. Is not that the team isn't good, it's that they're not they don't have a margin for error and they're playing sloppy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk about some of those ways that they're losing in the margin. So let's talk about the ninth inning. We're gonna delve a little bit more into the relief side of the trade deadline later on in the episode. But just in a short span of games, they've allowed 10 runs in the ninth inning over the last 4 games. Okay, that's absolutely unacceptable. Okay, I mean we would be raising red flags if they allowed 4 runs in 4 games in the ninth inning. 10 is absolutely absurd, and rightfully so. They are 1-3 in those 4 games. Another thing that is very disheartening about the series losses, this is the first time since early July where they've dropped back-to-back series. Okay, they rebounded heading into the All-Star break, and they kept that momentum against the Chicago White Sox as they should have. But the Diamondbacks and the Cubs come to town and take them to task. Really, it is. We can talk all about the minor calls and the absolutely atrocious umpiring that happened throughout both those series, but at the end of the day, all we're going to remember are the wins and losses. And they're just like Honey said, maybe they're getting a little cocky. I hope not, but it could be absolutely a possibility. And I fully believe that all the resources this trade deadline need to go towards the bullpen. Not even considering Schreiber and Harvey's injuries. Like, this is getting a little testy, Jeremy.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Okay.
Because I think, and I hinted at this before we started recording, I think there's a path towards improving this bullpen without adding an arm. And I don't just mean Will Klein and Walter Pennington either.
Okay.
What I've noticed, and I don't have the numbers to back this up right now, but what I've noticed this year is that the bullpen is perfectly fine when they don't have their backs up against the wall. When they've got 2, 3, 4 more runs lead, the bullpen is fine. When they have pressure, they try to pitch too perfect and they get blown up. And so I think if you can add a hitter, especially a leadoff hitter, to make this offense more consistent, to score more runs, to increase your difference, the run differential heading into the late innings, the bullpen would be fine. I do obviously want to see one more reliever because you're going to have some close games. And right now, they do not have a single reliever that I trust in a close game. Not even one. Maybe Chris Bubich. That's it. And James MacArthur has lost the closer role. The problem is they don't have anybody else who can close. Yeah. So I think they need one hitter and they need one more reliever. 2 more relievers wouldn't be out of line, but they're not going to do that. That's too much. So one more reliever, one hitter. And I think that is enough to keep them competitive for the rest of the season, especially if they were able to go out and get Tanner Scott, who I think is the best reliever left on the market, then I think they're going to be sitting pretty. But that does seem a little bit of a stretch, but we'll have to see. As a lot of these relievers, as we said, are going for high prices, but those teams aren't buyers anymore.
Yeah, very true. So it's there's 2 points that I want to talk about. So the optics regarding the bullpen are not nearly as bad as the statistics say. I've got about 5 or 6 statistics that I can pull out of my ass and say, hey, look, like this says they're actually an average bullpen, or they're this, that, the other thing. The frustrating part, though, is when things go bad for the bullpen, they go bad for everyone in the bullpen.
And they go really bad.
Exactly. It is, I think it was either the first or the second game in the Arizona Diamondbacks series is where Bally Sports popped up with a little graphic talking about how great the bullpen was over their last 13 games. They had a 13-game stretch where they were a sub 1.5 ERA. They were striking guys out. They were limiting the walks really nice. That was okay, this is a contending bullpen. And then you go and you look at them over the past 2 series, and well, this is the bullpen that makes us say, hey, we need to invest more into the bullpen. One, the Fangraphs shutdown meltdown.
Yeah.
metric, right, Jeremy? So
Yeah. I'm a big fan of it.
I am as well, because I think it, especially for relievers, I think it's a good benchmark to show, like, okay, how many they've had one meltdown performance, but it might bloat their ERA to a point where they'll never recover.
Exactly. Or if they're giving up runs in situations where it doesn't matter, but shutting teams down in close games, then that's something you also want to know. Absolutely.
Exactly. So the Cleveland Guardians, unsurprising to anyone, leads MLB with 129 shutdown performances from the bullpen. The Royals rank last in Major League Baseball with 69 shutdown performances.
Yeah.
So that is a massive chasm between not only just another divisional foe, but another AL postseason team that the Royals may or may not. Well, they're gonna have to contend with them anyways, whether it's in the postseason or not. They're gonna have to go through them in the regular season as well. So and I feel like I've used this word about a dozen times in this podcast episode already. Is just disheartening.
Yep.
Okay, and they gotta invest in it. I want to talk about a couple of good news things from today's game. Bobby Wood Jr. Extended his hit streak to 10 games. That is the fourth 10-game hit streak that he has
ridiculous
this season. I know, absolutely insane. Only one other player in Major League Baseball has more than two 10-game hit streaks, and that is fellow All-Star Marcell Ozuna. Renfroe just continues to put a struggling start to the season behind him. In his last 18 games since July 4th, he's batting .328 with 12 RBI, a .509 slugging percentage, and a .915 OPS. All right, Hunter Renfroe is looking like the guy that the Royals wanted him to be and more over the summer. So that is good. I think he is. I really think that, I wouldn't say he covered for Michael Massey, but people weren't really paying attention to the fact that since the All-Star break, Michael Massey had been struggling mightily. And thankfully, with Renfroe coming up behind him in the lineup, that really helped cover his ass, for lack of better terms.
Yeah.
Covering
for Salvi, too.
Yeah, that's true. Just that 3-4-5 group has been feast or famine right now.
Yep.
It seems. Okay. Here's one more thing. I want your thoughts on the Vinny bunt. You talked about it a little bit on social media. Go follow along with us on social media if you haven't already. But what are your thoughts on Vinny's bunt?
Okay, so it's a little nuanced, which I know is not what the internet is for.
Nuance? What? Us? What?
I do not think he was attempting to sacrifice bunt there. I think he was trying to bunt for a hit. And he was like, well, if I bunt for this hit and I don't get it, it's still a sacrifice, which is okay. I still don't agree with the decision. Vinny has been so good with runners in scoring position this year. Top 5 in the AL or MLB. I forget which one. But at least top 5 in the AL. And he's bunting. Swing the bat, buddy. You heard of swing the bat. So, I've been a big proponent of against the shifts, let the lefties bunt a little bit, get on base, because on base matters. But when you got 2 runners on, it's time to bring the runners home, not just get on base, not just move them over. So I did not agree with that decision. I don't think it was quite as people who were like, why are you sacrifice bunting? That's so bad. I don't think he was intending to sacrifice bunt. It was still a bad decision.
Okay. All right. And I fully agree with that. So usually I'm not against bunts, especially when it comes to the Royals, because it seems like when they deploy them, they work. Okay. We've seen Freddie Fermin lay down, I don't know how many good bunts for singles, Kyle Isbell the same way. But when you go and look at the situation, even the analytics say, hey, this is not the way to go. I know you saw it, and I'm sure anyone else following me already saw it, but the run expected numbers actually decreased after he bunted and moved those 2 runners over. So for all the talk of a revamped approach that we've heard about in the dugout and in the front office, just those small analytical things go ignored, which is surprising, and I don't like personally. It it didn't matter because Hunter Renfroe came through with that 2 RBI single, I believe it was.
It still matters because imagine if Vinny singles there and then everything else happens the way that it did. Maybe
Okay,
you get 3 runs.
that is true. That is very true. I think I meant to say it's not like going to be a massive what if because they still got some sort of runs out of the situation. I just want to get your thoughts down on that. Are you how are you feeling about moving to the trade deadline stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I've already tried to go there like 2 or 3 times, so
I know
let's
I've
just go ahead and,
yanked the
and
wheel.
and get there. I'm like, come on, trade deadline. I don't want to talk about these losses anymore.
Yeah. So a little bit of background before we get into it. The Royals are about to go on the road. And while they're on the road, we will have the MLB trade deadline. That deadline is on Tuesday, July 30th at 5 p.m. Kaufman Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern for us out here on the coast. I want to talk about relievers. Jeremy's going to talk about leadoff guys because we discussed it on the last podcast that we agree those are the 2 primary focuses for this team. It's strange because most of the impactful trades we have seen so far, the ones that require a lot of prospect capital, the ones where it's the top tier of available players moving, have been on the relief side. And boy, oh boy, it is the asking price for these relievers is absolutely astronomical. I mean, you can look at the trade that happened this morning alone. Jason Adam, I get it. He's looking really good, 2.49 ERA. He has multiple years left of team control, former Royal there. But the fact that he netted the Tampa Bay Rays 3 top 12 prospects from the Padres system, including their number 3 prospect and the number 67 overall prospect in baseball, is astounding to me. And it just does not give me any comfort saying the Royals are going to go out and be in on Tanner Scott. I know that reports have said they're interested in him, but that sticker shock is probably going to chase them away. I do have a piece coming out tomorrow on Kings of Kaufman, breaking down 12 different pitchers across 4 different tiers. Like, Tanner Scott's in my top but improbable trade target tier. I want to talk about 2 guys who are one within the higher tax bracket tier and the budget tier, if you will. First guy that I want to talk about is another Tampa Bay Rays guy, Pete Fairbanks. He's going to be the next big Rays player moved. I believe his current stats aren't dominant. He does have 19 saves for the Rays, still looking very strong, 3.19 ERA and a 3.31 FIP. I have a little bit of hesitancy trading with the Rays because whenever the Rays want one of your prospects, I would go, well, why do they want him and why don't we want to keep him? What are they seeing we don't? Because they have such a history of doing that, Jeremy. It's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, I do think that Fairbanks comes into Kansas City if they traded for him, and he is the immediate closer, which is what they need. He doesn't strike out guys at an incredible rate, 8.35 K over 9 in 2024, but he does have a better track record across his career. Actually, this is the first time in his major league career where that K over 9 is below double digits. And his stuff hasn't changed a whole lot. Just some of the results have. So I still would trust in him as the closer. Another guy that I want to talk about is we need to be looking at the second tier players on these sellers. And I like Derek Law from the Washington Nationals. Now, I get it. It would be odd for the Royals to kind of double dip, if you will, after like, hey, they already traded with the Nationals for Hunter Harvey. Why would they go back to that well? Derek Law, he's a guy who's had a lot of team control left, 33 years old, right-handed guy. And he just induces a lot of ground balls. He's really this pitch to contact guy that the Royals seem to like. He's not in their closer role right now because he's the setup guy, but he's bounced around the league and he's not a dominant guy by any stretch, but he is having a good 2024. And I think that where the Royals are going to have to settle. I think if they don't want to give up a lot of prospect capital, they're going to have to go and see, well, these are guys that are good enough. And Derek Law fills that need, in my opinion, at least. Still good control, only walks 2.47 guys over 9 innings. And like I said, induces a lot of ground balls, 48.4%. So I like him. We'll see what the Royals do. We'll see what the Nationals do. I think they should lean more into being sellers, but only time will tell. Jeremy, do you have any thoughts or qualms with those guys and the reasoning behind them?
No, I honestly absolutely love Fairbanks.
Okay.
He's a name that has kind of popped up as like people should be interested in him, but not a name that's popped up as people are interested in him. So that's been kind of weird, but I've long been a fan of Fairbanks. And I would love to see him. I don't know much about Law, so I can't speak to him, but Fairbanks, he would be a great pickup if the Royals can get him for relatively cheap.
Yeah,
with them playing sloppy right this second, I don't want to spend any prospect capital at all.
True. If they're not just adhering to the basics, then why invest right now at the trade deadline? But I do think that, I mean, shoot, I don't even have today's stats because today was a little odd for the leadoff spot because they had Michael Massey batting leadoff, which was very surprising to see. Like it's not a guy that I said, hey, they should give him a shot at the top spot. And lo and behold, I think he got on base a couple of times, didn't he?
He got on base one time, I think.
One time here. I'm pulling it up right now. Yep, he drew a walk and scored a run. So, I mean, not stellar results, but I guess it's better than Adam Frazier. I don't know. All in all, we need like a pure leadoff guy. All right, I get it. You're not going to go out there and get a Stephen Kwan or a Luis Ariz. Those guys aren't available right now, but there's got to be someone out there, right, Jeremy? There's got to be at least one.
Well, the Royals have been directly tied to 3 different guys, and I'm pulling up some of their statistics. I've been looking at some of their stuff, and I just thought I'd look at their last 20 games for all 3 of them and see how I felt about them. Okay. So one of the guys I've been talking about a lot all year has been Luis Rengifo, second baseman, third baseman for the Angels, switch hitter. The caveat there is he does not walk. He's got a 4.8% walk rate. He also has only a 13.5% strikeout rate.
Pretty good.
So, yeah, pretty good. He has a 99 WRC plus over his last 20 games. Only a 2.6% walk rate. Not going to bring a lot of power. He will steal a few bases, not a ton. So he's an option. I've actually kind of soured on him a little bit, despite the fact that he has the best season WRC plus out of the 3 guys. So then you've got Taylor Ward also on the same team. Now Rengifo is 27 years old. Ward is 30. So you want to be, if you trade for Ward, you're not going to give up much, or else you've made a mistake. Ward has some very good. He's got lots of red when you go look at his Baseball Savant, which is good on Baseball Savant, not good elsewhere, but on Baseball Savant, that's good. Unfortunately, over his last 20 games, basically his entire month of July, he is slashing 151, 232, 219 for 29 WRC plus. He's still walking, but his strikeouts are up. His power is gone, basically, with a .068 ISO. I said this morning I saw all the red that he had versus a lot of blue on Rengifo's screen, and I was like, okay, fine, I'm in on Ward. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not in on Ward. So then
the results do matter.
That brings us to the last guy the Royals have been tied to, who is actually another national, who is an interesting guy. I wasn't excited about him at all, but I look at his Baseball Savant. There's a pretty good amount of red there. He had a very good 2023. He's been okay this year. I look at his last 20 games. He's slashing 297, 416, 378. So he doesn't have a ton of power, but he's walking 13.5% of the time over his last 20. good for 134 WRC plus, and he is 28 years old. He would still be under control through next year. Rengifo still under control for next year. Taylor Ward would be under control for 2 more years. To 26, 25, and 26. So that's kind of why the Royals are probably looking at all those guys as the control. But again, none of them are young. The youngest is Rengifo at 28. So I'm not like, I really want to keep that guy around for a long time for sure. You're only guaranteeing a rental kind of from them. I think Lane Thomas, honestly, out of the 3 right this second, and I've flip-flopped all over the place this entire trade deadline season. I think he's the guy I'd go for right now. He also brings you some speed. He's stolen 11 bases over his last 20. He has been caught stealing 6 times. He's running a lot. He has not hit a single home run or triple over his last 20. He does have 6 doubles.
Okay,
but the fact that he's getting on base like that 416 OBP, especially in the modern game over a 20 game stretch, very nice.
It is.
So I think that Lane Thomas is probably the way I could go. Also, not sure you want a guy who's going to hit home runs because the Royals offense is so much better when runners are on base. So you want a guy who's going to be on base and make everyone else go, okay, now he's pitching out of the stretch. Let's go. So that's probably the direction I'm leaning right this second is Lane Thomas. And you mentioned Derek Law was also a national. So maybe the Royals get one more trade done with one reliever. I don't think you meant as Anaheim's Luis. Is somebody that the Royals in on. And what I saw on The Athletic earlier is that the Angels have a deal done for Luis Garcia. They just haven't announced it yet. So I'm very interested to see if the Royals are the team that was done with, and if they're also trying to get, one of those hitters. The Angels are just waiting to see if they can get a better deal before finally.
Maybe so.
But any of those 3 guys are going to be an upgrade. Here's the thing is that where the Royals are trying to upgrade is Adam Frazier, Nick Lofton, Garrett Hampson. That's what we're trying to upgrade. We're not trying to upgrade Hunter Renfroe. We're not trying to upgrade Vinny Pasquantino. We're trying to upgrade these 3 guys who have been awful. And all we need the guy coming in to be is not league average is sufficient. And that's what all 3 of those guys, Taylor Ward, the worst season WRC plus at 97. And there's lots of red on his baseball savant. So there's plenty of reason to think that he's underperforming. And if you bat him in front of Bobby Witt Jr., he's going to get a lot of pitches that are better to hit. So you would think that he would learn in Kansas City than he does.
Absolutely. I like those choices, Jeremy. Yeah. I don't know what the Angels could be waiting on if they already have a deal in place. It is this. We're about to hit high gear on the trade deadline, folks. Okay, you need to go bookmark RoyalsReview.com. Go set the notifications on your Twitter to let you know whenever a tweet goes out from Royals Review, because this is going to be important. And I get it. The Royals might not make a ton of moves or a ton of impactful moves, but honestly, this is kind of uncharted territory because they have been sellers for so long. And we saw how late in the game JJ Piccolo and company went for getting trades done and announcing trades. And I would expect the same thing. Okay, that's kind of why I'm not I want them to make a deal right now. I want to wake up on Sunday morning and see them having made a deal. That's why I'm not, screaming at the wall about why haven't they traded for Luis Rengifo yet? Why? They just want him for the Chicago road trip. Okay, they want him to meet him there at O'Hare maybe. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling about the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I am incredibly frustrated. I really would like to see some movement, some reason to hope right now as the team has floundered over the past 4 games. And I get it. Everybody that wants to see a move. I've been demanding the Royals make a move. No moves are being made, and now moves are being made. But again, everybody's paying a premium price right this second. If the Royals wait, the Royals are not going to be in a significantly worse position. It's just not possible. So if they wait 2
Exactly.
more days and they get a significantly better deal because somebody says, well, I got to sell him now or never, then that's good.
Yep.
And as we've talked about, I think as you've pointed out when we were talking ahead of time and we were both like, oh man, do we even want to podcast? This team is so frustrating. You were like, but they're still in a
Exactly.
they're still half a game over the Red Sox right this second.
Right. There's a couple of things that Fangraphs, of course, is pointing out to me. Number one, I remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about like, hey, the Royals are about to hit a stretch where they're gonna have a lighter schedule, they're gonna have lighter competition. Well, as we sit here today, just looking at the remaining games that they have, they like their strength of schedule is amongst some of the highest in Major League Baseball. Like this was kind of supposed to be the stretch that they take advantage of. They didn't do so, and their playoff chances took a dive.
They still have 7 games against the White Sox and the Tigers.
They do. They absolutely do. But yeah, they're sitting at 50. Wow, why am I? They're 57-49. All right.
Yeah.
Playoff odds 43.8% right now.
So by the way, that means their playoff odds up.
Yes.
Since a couple of weeks ago by a lot because they were in the 30s at the beginning of July.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And if you just zoom out on a 10,000 foot level, folks, think about where our expectations were for the Royals, in February and in March. They've well exceeded those. And I haven't, quote unquote, covered Royals baseball where I've cared about Royals baseball this late into the season.
I've done it twice, but never to success. So I'm really hoping that I get to cover some Royals playoff baseball this year.
I am hoping so as well. Usually by this time, I'm more worried about the farm system, which I do want to point out one thing on the farm system. Noah Cameron got the call up to AAA Omaha earlier today. Fellow prospect Eric Sarantola was brought back from the development list. So the thing that is confusing to me though is number one, those are both top 30 guys. Okay, I'm trying to look this up. Cameron's sitting at 20, and then Sarantola is sitting at 25. But the Royals sent up a starting pitcher to AAA Omaha with no guy going down, right? With no guy going to the IL, nothing like that. I think that begs the question, are we about to lose one of the AAA pitchers in a trade, which wouldn't be bad, I don't think. That's where Daniel Lynch IV is. That's where Jonathan Bolin is. Andrew Hoffman. Those sort of guys.
Anthony Veneziano.
Yeah, thank you. Like I keep on forgetting about him because they use him.
Yeah, the Royals did too.
Yeah. Glad I'm not the only one. Make sure you keep your eye on the AAA roster. Maybe the Royals are progressing in some sort of trade deal and getting that hammered out.
I do want to throw out there one really positive thing. I know a lot of people are frustrated they haven't made a deal yet, but almost every deal that has been done, the Royals were in on it. They just fell out at the last second. Royals were in on it. They just fell out at the last second. The Royals are not sitting on their hands. JJ Piccolo is on the phones, baby. He is talking to everybody about
The reporting sounded like they ended up third in the Jazz Chisholm race, which, being behind the Yankees and the Pirates is not a terrible place to be.
And it really sounded to me like they were second in the Randy Arozarena race.
Yeah. So it's progress, folks. I get it. We talk about process over results a lot here. I like the process. Now I just want to see some goddamn results at the trade deadline.
I would have loved to see a Arozarena here. Absolutely. I know a lot of people would have, and they were disappointed. But did you want to give up Blake Mitchell? Because it was probably going to take. I saw one of our fellow Royals review writers, I think it might have been Preston Farr, said Blake Mitchell and Ben Kudrna to get.
I'm not doing that.
I don't know that it would have taken that much. I had it as Kudrna. Austin Charles would have equaled the Mariners deal, but if you want to outbid them, then maybe you're talking Blake Mitchell instead of Kudrna. We're talking somebody, Carter Jensen, instead of Austin Charles.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad the Royals didn't.
No, I'm not mad either. Another one that I'm not mad they didn't make is the damn Carlos Estevez trade from the
That was
Angels.
crazy,
like,
yeah.
Holy smokes, that was an insane haul. Say it again. I
yeah,
can't.
You gotta. So I learned this year, okay?
Okay,
Because we're a couple of white dudes. So I learned
yes,
this year. That little apostrophe,
the
that accent mark, that means that's the syllable that gets stressed.
Yes.
I didn't know that before this year because I'm just a white dude. But so it's Estevez.
Okay. All right. And Honey is about to remind us of the rule if there is no accent mark, because unfortunately
second vowel sound, second from the
second to last syllable.
The second to last syllable is what Honey says. That is what you said, Jeremy. Yes. This is what she was educated in, but yet I don't take in any of that knowledge.
Which begs the question, Salvador Perez.
Yes.
Shouldn't it be which explains why people pronounce it Salvador Perez.
Perez.
Sounds don't exist in the Spanish language. It's an S sound. So it's Estevez.
Couple of white dudes.
All
right, speaking of being white, let's go ahead and talk about the salute to the Negro Leagues, shall we?
Frustrating.
Where do you want to start off with what the Royals did do, I guess, with what the Royals and Cubs did do, I guess. Okay, Bob Kendrick, heard an inning from him on TV. He had an inning on the radio. A great addition, and I'm frustrated with Royals fans that were complaining about him being on the radio during the game. I saw several folks complaining about it. You can miss me with that. Okay. It's Bob Kendrick. He's not just a Kansas City treasure. He is, zoom out a little bit, he's a national treasure. And that's not an exaggeration. Folks come
basically handpicked as far as that goes.
Yeah,
by Buck O'Neill to run the Negro League stuff in Kansas City.
Exactly. And he is just such a great ambassador for that. And I love the energy that he brings. And I love when we get the opportunity to have him in the booth. I think it was last year where they had like the rain delay during the Negro Leagues game. Do you remember that? I just remember it was either last year or the year before. There was a major delay, and Bob Kendrick and it was like just 30 minutes straight of Bob Kendrick stories broadcast on TV.
That's the best rain delay of all time.
I know. It was awesome. So I was glad to see him honoring Buck O'Neill, thankfully. Of course, he has a long history with the Kansas City area, but it was ultimately with the Cubs franchises where he made history as the first black coach in Major League Baseball. So that was good that they recognized that. And that's kind of where it ends, Jeremy, unfortunately.
They had the hats.
I
don't think I even noticed what the Cubs hats were. I know they were wearing the special hats, but I didn't.
The Kansas City Monarchs hats were noticeable. I think they looked nice. I think they looked clean. Honoring the 1924 championship winning Monarchs there, so that was good. And then the patch was like you had to be looking for it.
First Negro Leagues World Series.
Thank you. I forgot that tidbit. All right, so let me get on the soapbox here a little bit, Jeremy, and
let me get off that thing.
Yeah, make some room, damn it. So I have grown to love the Monarchs homage each year. I really have, and I think it is something that not only sets Kansas City apart, but when we get to see that around baseball, because it starts conversations. It honors history. It honors guys who played decades of baseball and were essentially, like, literally ostracized during their time, but then also that segregation continued until this past calendar year, where MLB brought Negro Leagues baseball statistics into the fold and recognized them further. This is the same year where we had everything going on down at Rickwood Field. We sent the Giants and the Cardinals down there, play a proper game, and we heard everything from Reggie Jackson. I mean, like, that really put things into perspective. During that same calendar year, though, Major League Baseball is telling teams that they can't wear the uniforms, and it's just unacceptable. It is disrespectful to those players still here I mean, Sam Allen threw out the first pitch today. He was a former Negro Leagues player from the Hampton Roads area where I'm at, actually. And it's so, I'm going to say the word again. It is so disheartening because we want that recognition and we want that healing. And Major League Baseball is just not letting it happen. I want to make that point. This is not the Royals' decision to branch away from this. This was big baseball coming down and saying, no, you will not do this. Jeremy, your turn on the soapbox. Let me get off.
Yeah, so there's rumors going around that this isn't actually MLB coming up with a new regulation saying they can't wear the uniforms, but that Nike/Fanatics found themselves unable to produce Negro Leagues uniforms of all the issues they had with the regular uniforms this year, where they didn't have pants for people, etc. And because, of course, the Nike sets take that doesn't. Why is MLB carrying water for a fear of their supplier? And why are they not holding their supplier to account? Why are they not, dealing with this? This is a multi-billion-dollar organization. If the issue is that the uniforms couldn't be produced, then the answer is, well, you violated your contract. We'll go get somebody who can do it.
Yep.
Not, we'll say that we made some regulations that you can't use those uniforms. Utter nonsense. It's absolutely unacceptable for a multi-billion-dollar organization to make the decisions, to accept the failures that occurred, that not just the Royals. We saw this with the Detroit Tigers earlier this year, and they're trying to do their salute to the Negro Leagues and not allowing them or enabling them to wear the Negro Leagues uniforms on the field. Just unacceptable. That's the unword I want, is unacceptable.
Unacceptable. I like.
You can have hurting. And disrespectful. I've got unacceptable.
So I got the dis words and you got the unwords.
Yes.
I like that. And we've talked about this with life experiences before. Like sometimes you won't know the impact of another person or organization's decisions until you see it have impact in your own life. And like I've been to these games that have the Norfolk Red Stockings, and it sparks conversation. It sparks introspective thought at baseball games, and it just puts a lot of things into perspective that matter. And we sit here and we talk about baseball a lot on this podcast, as we should, as it is a baseball podcast after all. But
I was thinking we should talk about baseball less on this podcast.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Maybe 70-30?
Yeah. 70-30, 30% baseball.
But I understand that a lot of people use sports as an escape, and the thing about that, I don't want to call it an excuse, but the thing about that train of thought is it's that things outside of sports influence sports so much.
The national anthem, political. Military airplane flyovers, political. The military officers singing the sixth inning song, the God Bless America, doubly.
Yeah.
There are so many politics parts. When you tell me, I'm just gonna come right out and say it.
All right,
Jacob. When you tell me that you don't want politics in your sports, what you're telling me is you don't want politics that you disagree with. It's because your sports are chock full of.
You ain't wrong, Jeremy. Oh man, just a dose of reality.
Yep,
really is.
And that's I think something that hugely frustrates me. One of my pet peeves is people saying I don't want politics, blah blah blah. Everything is
to some degree or another. That's just how life is. Hey, one quick breaking news thing. Annie Rogers did say about John Schreiber and Hunter Harvey. They're hoping to have more information on Monday about them. Schreiber was, quote, walking around in the clubhouse post-game and told me he's hopeful he feels better tomorrow after some treatment. So
all right.
Thankfully, it doesn't sound too serious with Schreiber, and we will see what the team says about both of them later on today or tomorrow. Jeremy, anything else before we get to Royals reviews?
No, let's just get out of here. Let's go.
Yeah, are you kind of exasperated on the Royals?
I let myself worked up.
Oof. Okay. All right. Well, then let's get out here with some reviews. Hey, you go ahead and start us off, Mr. Worked Up Man.
Oh my gosh, I've had 6 different reviews in my head that I wanted to do, and I can't remember what any of them are right now. So,
of course.
So come back, please.
Okay, sounds good. I have a quick one. This was actually the watch of the week down in my Milham Minutes column over on Arrowhead Addict. But I talked about Boy Meets World on Disney Plus. My wife Honey has pointed out that I have several nostalgia gaps in my upbringing. You know, I had CBS and PBS growing up. That was about it. And CBS is not known for its children's shows. And I could talk her ear off about the Red Green Show or Liberty's Kids on PBS, but she's filling me in on some other sitcoms, and Boy Meets World was the next one up. Great. It is a sitcom, honey.
It's not. It deals with heavier issues than sitcoms.
It's a sitcom.
It's a sitcom.
Don't listen to her. It's a
I
sitcom.
will fuck die on this hill.
Okay.
Well,
All right, but
I will miss you.
wow. But all in all, it follows Corey Matthews and his close friends and his family. Just a really good coming of age story. The only qualm that I have is Disney Plus uploaded season 7, the final season, out of order. So like the series finale was episode 14, and there was like 24 total episodes. So it was very jarring, to say the least. Like, why are we jumping around in this timeline? What is... Maybe this is some Deadpool and Wolverine promotion, you know, talking about timelines getting messed up and shit like that. Maybe that's what that happened. But I found this show enjoyable as an adult because it did have a lot of adult themes in it, and I identified a lot with some of the adults, what's it called, people in it. So go check out Boy Meets World on Disney Plus. Yes, Jeremy, I know. Don't say it. Don't ask the question. Just get on to your review.
My review is the Marvel Cinematic San Diego. I think it's San Diego Comic-Con
San Diego
that they
Comic-Con
did last night. And man, I'm right now. The MCU is suffering because they won't do anything new. They won't take risks, take their time. They just keep doing the same old stuff, and they keep rushing things out. And so they said, what are we going to do to fix it? We're going to bring the Russo brothers back. And we're also going to bring back Robert Downey. And we're not even just going to bring him back. We're going to tell you we're bringing him back. And we're going to tell you what role. There will be nothing new. There will be there will be more of the same things that you've done before. I don't know what's happening over there.
I'm waiting for the opportune time to speak.
There will be doing the same thing we've done before with the same people we've used before, as we are terrified of allowing anything new, fun, or...
Because the Walt era of the Disney company has died, and it's sad, and it's going downhill, and this is why you should go see Twisters instead. 12 out of 10, Glenn Powell is movie starring, and he is a movie star, for sure. Like,
I'm
movie
looking
stars are
forward to
movie
watching
starring
that one.
again. It's a 15 out of 10. I highly recommend it. Go see it. Goodbye!
I am looking forward to Twisters. I loved Twister. And everything I've heard is that Twisters is, hey, you liked Twister? Mortars!
It was awesome, man. It was great.
It's one of my top 10 comfort movies, and to watch Glenn Powell get to be in Twisters was phenomenal.
I'm absolutely excited for that one. I'm glad you did.
Fine with that.
The worst part, Jacob, the worst part about the MCU right now is I'm going to still see that movie. I'm going to watch it.
I know I'm still going to watch Fantastic Four.
I have to know what happens next. I'm invested.
Yes, I am invested as well. And if you're invested in Kansas City Royals baseball, then you need to go check out RoyalsReview.com and get reinvested ahead of the trade deadline. Listen, that's my dog alarm going off.
I just want to say before I let you leave, like, get reinvested in the Royals. Go to RoyalsReview.com, listen to the podcast, check out our socials, etc. Hi, puppy. But also, like, go ahead and take a break if you're feeling like I am today. You're like,
take a breath.
Take a break. It's okay. Take a break.
No, I think I need to load up the PlayStation and just actually play some video games because I haven't played video games in a few days.
Have you played Marvel's Mid?
Heyo.
He plays MLB The Show.
I'm still sporting MLB The Show 19. Hunter Dozier's an all-star. I love it.
Every dang year they're like, Hunter Dozier all-star card. Got to have that one in there again. I know Royals fans love that.
Yeah. They'll just eat that up, won't they?
It was last year's thing, and it was in this year's too. More Hunter Dozier.
Yeah.
Fine. There's so many good Royals. Why do I have to have Hunter?
Just more pain. And I said Hunter Dozier just to see how long it would take Honey to say something in his defense.
I mean,
it took a while.
I'm sure he's a lovely person. I'm actually not sure that he's lovely. I know a couple of things that make me think he's not a lovely person, but maybe he's a lovely person.
Maybe.
But I would like to play with Lorenzo Cain, not Hunter Dozier.
Exactly. Maybe give me a Mike Moustakas all-star card, something like that, you know? All righty, we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. We're going to go just try to do something non-Royals related for a little bit, as you should as well. You can follow along with us on social media for some of that non-Royals related stuff if you would like. Our links are down in the podcast description below. I'm going to go find something new to watch, maybe something new to read. I don't know. It's just not going to be Royals related for a little bit, and take a breath. Once again, my name is Jake Milham. He is Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, any closing thoughts before we get out of here? Any sounds? Any comments? Any conclusions or questions? All right, thank you. All righty, everyone, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and until next time, go Royals!